us a residential loan closing, right? Or a commercial loan closing. It's the transaction that occurs when someone is borrowing money or purchasing a home, because sometimes we have those great cash transactions. Who's involved in a closing? You usually have what? At least four parties, five parties. You have your buyer, you have your seller, you have your realtors, you have your lender, and you have your title agent or your closer. What types of signings are there? I narrowed it down to a buyer signing, seller signing, a buyer signing for refinance, or a buyer signing for a HELOC, and they all have different documents. Now, it seems to be, since 2020 or the pandemic, closings are a lot more separated right now. Sellers don't want to sit with buyers, buyers don't want to sit with sellers. A lot of sellers are choosing to do more remote online, or having the documents sent to them directly, and then they go with a notary. Now, the thing is, when you sign a seller, you do not need your title insurance license. So you can do seller sides all day long without it. Why? Do you know why?
Mm-mm.
What did I tell you that we are ultimately? Nope.
We're document
We're
reviewers.
ultimately title insurance producers selling insurance, but we're selling the insurance to the buyer, not to the seller. So for the seller side, you are literally just notarizing and witnessing. So the seller's package, and I may have given you all some examples, seller's package is very, very small, but you should be able to recognize. So let's pretend we have a seller signing, okay? And we're going to pretend the seller is just an individual. We're not going to say an LLC, an estate, or anything. The only documents that you will have for this seller signing will be what we refer to as your ancillary or your title documents, with the most important document being the deed. You smile, but I've actually forgotten a deed before in closing. I thought I was done, and then I realized I didn't do the deed. So with a seller signing, again, you'll have a handful of documents. Go off the top of my head. You'll have your seller CD, your ALTA, if it has to do with a loan. If it's cash, you'll have a HUD. You're going to have your certification of exemption from withholding, unless they are a non-resident in Maryland, right? If they're a non-resident in Maryland, you know what you'll have? MW 506 NRS. That means they are not a resident of the state of Maryland, and therefore they are subject to the 8.75% penalty. You're going to have a correction agreement, because the title company is going to want a correction agreement. You may have a signature name affidavit, because we're going to want that. FERPTA. You're going to have a FERPTA affidavit. Do you all know what a FERPTA affidavit is? I'm going to tell you how to explain it. Don't worry. You're going to have certification of transfer for a primary residence. Now, what is the purpose of that document? If the person owner occupied the property, it was their principal residence, they have to answer these questions. It doesn't go anywhere, but it's a basis for capital gains. If the property has a water bill, you're going to have a water bill escrow. If the property has a HELOC or a line of credit, you're going to have a credit line closeout. You're going to need to have some sort of authorization form signed, because after closing, when you've paid off the loan, we need to go back and make sure that the loan has been released. You're also going to have some sort of disbursement instructions. And then that's it. You could do a seller signing in 15 minutes, if that. But the first thing that you always want to do is what? When you sit down to do a closing, what is the very first thing you all do? Ask for ID. And what happens if you have, this is where it differs from notary and title insurance producers in real estate, in my opinion. So what if you sit down with someone and all of your documents say John Smith Jr., but his ID comes up John Smith? What are you going to do? That's a real question. I want to know what you're going to do. You're going to ask for another ID. What would you accept? Okay, and what if you still don't have it? Can't move forward. I'm so glad you said that. You can close for us. Yeah, that happens a lot. But yes, of course, the first thing you have to do is verify ID. But when I took the notary training that I had to take last year to continue my commission, it confused me, because there are other avenues that a notary can take to verify somebody's identity that a title or someone in real estate cannot, because our guidelines are very, very different. The biggest difference being the Patriot Act. Just had this argument with someone on the way here tonight about the Patriot Act, but that's the biggest difference, that we have to, because we're working with money. So we have to really verify that person. When you have a purchase, Leah and I said we were going to do a mock. When you have a purchase, you obviously have a lot more documents for that buyer than you do anybody. So I actually brought a live package. Maybe at the end, Leah will pretend to be my buyer. We'll do closing. But I think I had said this before, that I actually put my documents in order. I ask my processors to make sure that I have my documents at least an hour before closing, because I like to go through the documents, because I like to get familiar with the file. Their names, loan amount, type of loan, simply because I want to be prepared for any questions that are going to be posed to me at the table. Now, the majority of the people don't ask too many questions, because I try to explain it to the point where they won't have to ask a question, but you sometimes come across people that do. You want my order? Bet you do. So my doc order, I'm going to tell you why I put it in this order. That's a good thing. I put it in this order, the order that I put it in, because there are certain documents that I feel like are more important than the others. So what is most important to the buyer is the cash they're bringing to close, that their interest rate is correct, and their payment is right?
Mm-hmm.
In the package that I've given to you all, I've pulled out what I deem to be the most important documents in a closing package. Your note, your deed of trust, your deed, your CD, and I added some extras. Those are the most important documents. If you can get through those documents, everything else is gravy, because anything after the note, the trust, the CD, and the deed is nothing but disclosures. Remember, everything that your buyer is selling or signing at the table with you is something they've already signed, actually. Everything is just a disclosure. It's just that now the lender wants or needs wet signatures. Almost everything they sign, I hear them say, well, I already signed this. I already signed this. Yes, you did. But these are the final documents that we're going to go to the servicer, because the servicer may not have what the broker has already had signed. But once you put it in this order, I promise you, and if you can remember to say what I say and say it with confidence, I don't get questioned. Settlements usually, if I do a buyer and seller side, because I usually will do them simultaneously, both have my little order, I can get done in 45 minutes. If I have just a buyer, I'm done in 30 minutes. There's no reason why you should take an hour or 2 hour. I'll give you no more than an hour. You should never sit in settlement for more than an hour unless there's an issue. And if there's an issue, I excuse myself, because the issue doesn't belong to me. When you all are done figuring out what you need to figure out, call me. I'll be in the next room. Because most of the issues at the table are who's arguing over who didn't clean out the house, and they went to the walkthrough and there was some trash on the floor, and who wants to do an escrow now that we're at the table. We don't do that. Remember to keep control of your closing. That's your closing table. Don't let it get out of control. Okay. I'm okay with people bringing people to settlement since 2020, not during 2020 though. I'm okay. But when you're doing the closing, keep eye contact with the person who's signing. I bet you everybody else will be quiet, because mom, dad, sister, brother, everybody wants to have an opinion. If someone wants to take the document and they say to me, can I see that? You're not a party to the transaction. They can hand it to you, but I cannot. There was a point in time where I would separate my buyers and sellers. I would close my seller first. Then before I got to my buyer, I would say, do you mind if the seller is here while we go over your loan documents? Because there's nothing in this package that the seller needs to know about. Some sellers are nosy. I've had people say, well, what is their interest rate? It's not for me to discuss. That is not for me to discuss. Questions so far? Can y'all see anything popping up there? People online, do you guys have any questions?
No.
Nope.
Okay, good. Seller signing, buyer signing for a purchase. Refis. Now, mind you, refis we haven't had too many refis in the past year and a half, 2 years. But I promise you that this year, I will guarantee you, we're going to have another refi boom. So you need to be prepared. So since we work in the state of Maryland, Maryland is different than any other jurisdiction, meaning Maryland, DC, or Virginia. Maryland is very specific with things that they do, especially with refinances. So remember when we were talking earlier and I said, when you get your package, you should be able to recognize what is missing. The title company or whoever hires you is going to rely on you to have experience enough to know what is missing. So 2 things I can tell you. Refinances in the state of Maryland, Prince George's County has its own, what we refer to as refinance affidavit. It has the Prince George's County seal at the top left-hand side. No other affidavit for refinance can be used in Prince George's County except for the Prince George's County refinance affidavit. I would encourage you to Google it so you can see it because it's tedious to fill out. I make it a practice or a habit when I'm doing a Prince George's County refinance to have them sign 2. Because not only do they have to sign the document, they have to initial appropriately. There's 3 choices when you're doing this refi. Is it a primary residence that has a mortgage that's going to be paid off? Is it a primary residence that did not have a mortgage or purchase money? Or is it an investment property? And then they give you a little bit more scenario, and it has to be filled out properly, or I promise you, the clerks will reject your recording. So, of course, your refi package is going to be much smaller, possibly. But the affidavit is what is important. Frederick County, Maryland is another county that has its own refinance affidavit. So if you're doing anything in Frederick County, make sure it's the Frederick County refinance affidavit. Every other county and jurisdiction in Maryland goes with the Maryland refinance affidavit. Food. Any questions so far?
Do we know why these 2 particular counties are
Hold on, I can't hear you. Somebody's asking a question.
I'm sorry. Do we know why these 2 particular counties are uniquely different?
Okay, her question is, do you know why these 2 particular counties are uniquely different?
Because Prince George's County is special. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I honestly do not know why they are the only 2 counties that prefer to have their own refinance affidavits, but I'm going to say that Maryland in itself as a whole is very unique in comparison to DC and Virginia.
Okay.
Within Maryland is a little bit challenging to learn the rules and regulations because we don't have just Maryland rules, we have county rules, we have town rules, we have city rules, and they are things that you need to be mindful of.
Okay.
How far are the rules differ from each other?
So, for example, this is the easiest one. Up until a few years back, I'm going to say maybe 6 years back, in Maryland, we were required to hold a water bill escrow in order to transfer the property. Because if we did not, and the new owner moved in, and the previous owner had a balance, they wouldn't turn the water on for the new owner. Well, they've since gotten rid of that. So I don't know what Leah does at Bayview, but at our company, we do it as a courtesy. We'll hold a water bill escrow. We are no longer required. However, you said, why is it different? Charles County, Baltimore City, Baltimore County require that you pay the final water bill before they'll let you record the deed, where the other counties don't care. La Plata, it's a city within Charles County. goes a step further. We can't record online with La Plata because of the water bill. You have to send your recording to pay the water bill. Then you get to go over to the transfer office to show them that you paid the water bill so they can transfer it. Then you go over to the clerk's office so they can do the final recording. Why did they do it that way? I don't know. It would make it easy to do it the same way across the board. But Maryland is just jurisdictionally, everything seems different. And sometimes it's a lot to remember, but you should be able to remember and recognize, especially if a title company is employing you to do this. If I'm employing you to do a closing, I'm expecting that you understand how to recognize the documents. And, you know, we're all doing checks and balances, right? I feel like the closer, the last person, should be able to recognize if there's an issue. That's just my opinion. So remember before we said you don't need a title license in Virginia to close, but you're just there in the capacity of a notary just to witness. Well, HELOCs. If you ever come across somebody who's doing a HELOC, home equity line of credit, they don't require title insurance. You can close it all day long too. Those would probably be more direct because they probably wouldn't even go through a title company. They don't even do a title search. It would probably be like a bank would just, you know, however else you get notary signing. But HELOCs do not require title insurance. Therefore, you're not required to have a title license. You guys have any questions?
Nope.
No? Everybody has the handout though, right? All right. So I think I went over some of these documents, but every package, even though lenders are all different, there's still core documents that should be in every single package. Now, I've noticed a lot lately where we have a lot more hybrids, e-signs. So you have your e-sign package and then you have your wet sign package. This is the only time that I could say that I might be confused on what I'm missing, because we as a title company do not necessarily know what is in the e-sign package because we can't even access that. But documents that you should always know should be in your packages. Do you know how to distinguish between the title company CD and the lender CD? Because technically speaking, the lender instructions will tell us do not close on the title company CD, that you must close on the lender CD. But I'll guarantee you that when you get a closing, you're getting 2 CDs. You're getting one from the title company, you're getting one from the lender, then you're getting your Alta, then you're getting your seller CD. The only reason that we create a CD at the title company is because we have to fund. So we have to add the fees in order to do the funding. Make sure you have the right one executed. And 9 times out of 10, they're barcoded. If they're not barcoded, they will have a specific loan number at the bottom. Our processing systems do not put loan numbers at the bottom of the CDs. Mine doesn't, but you use e-closing too.
Yeah, but I don't give them a fee. I don't give them our video.
See, we do.
Why?
Derek does.
But you're not supposed to sign our CDs.
We're not supposed to, but we keep it. We do both. But make sure. I know. Make sure it has the barcode. Make sure you're having the correct one signed. The other thing that is important, and another reason why I look at my documents beforehand, is sometimes there might be a variation between how the lender has the buyer's name versus how title has the buyer's name. And why? And I'm going to tell you why. I'll give you an example. With VA loans, the buyer's name is going to match their VA benefits. And most of the time, it's their entire government name. My name is Leanne Teresa Rodriguez. I might go by Leanne T. Rodriguez. But if I'm a vet and I have my veteran benefits and it says Leanne T. Rodriguez, the lender is putting that entire government name on there. The realtor may not have contracted it that way. We go by the contract. It's not until the documents come over that we see a difference. You must have that buyer sign exactly how the lender has it. We all say yes, but what I do, as soon as I start and I look at my lender package and I say, I need you to sign your name exactly how it appears. I don't care what your signature looks like, but you must remain consistent. Do not use your middle name on the first 3 pages and not use your middle name on the last 3 pages, because any variation, the lender could tell me the package has to be re-signed. Dating.
Even if it's the same as your ID.
Doesn't matter. It's what the lender has on here. So I had one the other day where the lender had John Samuel Smith Jr. The contract didn't state that. His ID matched Jr., but he was also a veteran. I don't care about my documents changing them. I just make sure the deed matches, and I make sure he signs the way the lender wants him to. The other thing to be mindful of is the color of ink you use. You may not think it makes a big deal. We're supposed to sign in blue. Blue ink. 99% of the lenders will put in their closing instructions, you must sign in blue ink. It really doesn't matter now because we are e-recording, but when that package goes back to the lender, they want to be able to distinguish between an original and a copy. Now, I don't know how many of you would get the closing instructions, but I'm sure that whoever asked you to do the closing would instruct you what to do. So your closing package should always have lender CD. It should always have a deed of trust, a note, payment letter, initial escrow account disclosure. If the property is subject to PMI, not MIP, but PMI, conventional mortgage, they're going to have a PMI disclosure. Since 2020, they're going to have an employment verification, or what I refer to as your COVID affidavit. Are you still employed? Did your income decrease? Correction agreement, signature name affidavit, compliance agreement. They're going to have, if they're a first-time home buyer, most of the lenders are going to put their own first-time home buyer affidavit in there. We don't use that for recording. They're going to have an affidavit of occupancy, especially if it's a government-insured mortgage. They're going to have a disclosure that talks about reporting to the credit. Maryland disbursement authorization is in every single file. I'm going to teach you how to explain that. They're going to have something in there regarding the appraisal. Did you receive a copy of your appraisal? On a conventional, on an FHA or a government insured mortgage, it's going to say, this is what FHA deems your property to be valued at. Borrower certification and authorization, every single package. Equal opportunity credit, every single package. Flood certification, every package. Hazard insurance authorization and requirements, every package. Then most recently, they've added this document. Okay, it says borrower's consent to use tax information. Before, we would just get the 4506C or 4506T or an IRS form W-9, have them sign it. But the thing is, the trick is, they sign it prior to closing as well, because the lender has to get those transcripts in order to underwrite the file, right?
What is the name of that again?
It's authorization or borrower consent to the use of tax return information. Amortization schedule. I've yet to see a file, or I've yet to see a package without one. Some of them are signed, some of them are not. 1003. If you ever close a loan and you do not have the 1003 loan application, you need to stop what you're doing and ask the title company. Sometimes they are e-signed, but if you do not have a 1003, you do not have a complete package. And if the loan is FHA, in addition to the 1003, you're going to have the HUD/VA addendum to the 1003 loan application. You guys have questions? The Patriot Act form is also included in the lender. Yes, ma'am.
I had a quick question. Just go back a little bit. Which document?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You had a question as well. Go ahead, Leslie.
I was asking about which one of the documents that need to be signed? You said that there were two.
Which two documents did you mention that need to be
There are two CDs. One you said to make sure that one is signed.
for the
And
two?
yeah, which one was that?
Which one needs to be signed?
So the closing disclosure, you should always have the lender's version signed. And the
Okay,
lender's version, 9 times out of 10, is going to have a barcode on it.
okay, I gotcha.
Now, when Leah sends out closing packages, she does not include the one that she settled from her system, but some title companies do. So you just need to recognize, and if ever in doubt, have them both signed and send back. The processor at the title company can figure out which one is which, but it's
Okay.
better to have them both signed.
Gotcha.
Now you asked me about the 1003. Is that what you asked me? So the 1003, the loan application. The loan application is with every file. It's the first thing that they do when they apply for the loan, but it's the last thing I have them sign when we're closing.
And is there anything that they should pay attention to? You know,
Yes,
the loan application doesn't need to be notarized.
there definitely is. So about 6 years ago, they changed our loan application and the signatures are kind of hidden. So one thing you should remember with the 1003 loan application, if you have more than one borrower, they are most likely going to have 2 loan apps, right? The trick, there is a space at the top left on both of their 1003s, which I've missed a couple times now, that says applying for joint credit. So if you have 2 or more borrowers, make sure that you initial where it, or have them initial that they're applying for joint credit. You see it hidden there? The signatures are also hidden, but I have figured out that the new 1003 literally has one signature. But if it's an FHA mortgage, it's going to have one signature on the 1003, 2 signatures on the addendum. You can ask me anything.
So it's a lot of people, a lot of signers, they don't know that you might be 2 people. Somebody might just be on the trust and not on the note, so they're not responsible for the loan. When that's the case, they will only be on the trust. There'll be 2 names on the trust. If there's only 2 names on the trust and on land documents, both of them do not sign the loan application.
So you all understand, you can have interest in a property by way of being on the deed with no obligation to the mortgage. So if you run into a situation like that, where someone, husband and wife, and the husband is taking out a loan, like Leah said, the wife may not be on any other documents except for the deed of trust, because she has interest in the property. She has to acknowledge that, or he has to acknowledge that there's a mortgage being placed against the property. So there might be 3 documents for them to sign in that package. As Leah stated, if their name is not on there, do not have them sign. Now you're bringing me backwards to a bad closing that we had, that we outsourced. And the young lady brought her boyfriend to closing. He was absolutely positively not on anything. But for whatever reason, the notary we hired had him sign the deed of trust. It took us months to track this chick down to get her to re-sign the document so we could properly record. The notary couldn't explain to me why she had him sign it. It made absolutely no sense. He wasn't on the deed. He wasn't on the loan. His name was not typed on anything, but she had this man sign the documents. Exactly. Good point. It's okay. So you guys, we're going to actually do a closing, so you can either write fast or listen good. You want to do like this so you can see us?
Yeah.
All right. I shall move the pizza.
No food and no drinks at the closing table.
Mm-mm. I always have my coffee or something. I do too. Put some chips in the middle. All right, y'all ready? All right. So Leah about to challenge me. This is gonna be easy. This is gonna be fun, y'all.
All right, y'all, so we are back from break. We'll go ahead and get started with the simulation for the closing table.
Okay. Hi, I'm Leanne. I'm your closer. Nice to meet you. Oh, wow. May I get your ID?
I don't have it.
Is it out in your car?
Can I use a credit card?
Unfortunately not.
Does it have to, can I use my passport?
Yes, you can. As a matter of fact, yep, I'll take your passport. Thank you. Okay. I see that your passport has your full middle name written out, but unfortunately, the lender only has your middle initial. So I need you to sign your name exactly how it appears, okay? Does not, okay, I'm gonna need you to do that today, okay? Doesn't matter what your signature looks like, I just need you to keep it consistent, okay? All right. Now, at this point, I would have all my title docs. She would fill out the identification affidavit, but we're just going to do a loan package. All right, so this is your closing disclosure. This is the document you should have received from your lender at least 3 days prior to today. What we're going to do is go through this document to make sure everything you see here is exactly what you understood it to mean, okay? Do you agree that this is your new loan amount?
Yes.
Do you agree that this is your interest rate?
Yes.
Principal and interest prior to your taxes and insurance. This is your actual monthly payment. So your monthly payment includes your real estate property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, and no mortgage insurance. It does not include your HOA. You have any questions so far?
No.
All right, this is your cash to close. Did you do a wire or bring a certified check?
I bought a personal check.
Okay, so we're gonna have to pause. Unfortunately, we cannot take a personal check over $2,000. So what I can have you do is wire the funds from the table. Is that okay?
That's fine.
All right. Here we have any and all fees charged to you by the lender or the broker for doing the loan. These are your fees to title, which include title insurance. Are you familiar with title insurance?
No.
All right, so today you've purchased 2 policies. The first policy is called your lender's policy, which is a requirement. The lender requires this policy being purchased on their behalf, protecting their interest, which of course is the money they're loaning to you. The second policy is your owner's policy, which is always an option. However, it protects your interest, most importantly, the cash you brought to closing. Both policies are paid for one time through closing. As long as you own the property, they remain in effect. Title insurance is different than any other line of insurance. It pays backwards. It pays for interest, which is not tangible. It pays for any issues that could occur in the future that would change or challenge your ownership in the future. Do you have any questions?
No.
All right. Transfer and recordation fees split 50-50 per the terms of the contract, with the exception of the state transfer. As a first-time home buyer in the state of Maryland, you're exempt from your portion. These items right here are what we call your prepaids. Those are items that the lender requires you pay up front, which includes your homeowner's insurance for 1 year, as well as interest on the money once it hits my escrow account, although your first payment is not due until March 1st. So beginning in March, every time you make a payment, a portion of that payment goes into a separate account to pay your taxes and insurance in the future. You have any questions so far? All right, I see your property is subject to an HOA. Did you receive your HOA documents?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Contract sales price, do you agree?
Yes.
Total settlement charges we just went over.
Correct.
Debit to you, credit to the seller for items paid for in advance, specifically the real estate property taxes. Here we have your credits: earnest money deposit, new loan amount, seller closing credit, cash to close. On this page here, the only thing I'm going to point out is real estate property tax credits are no longer automatic. You have to apply for them. So once you have changed your ID to match your new property and you have your deed, about this time next year, you're going to apply for your homestead credit. Yep, I do that on purpose.
Okay.
Follow me. You explaining that to them?
No.
Nope. As long as your ID, look how she got me flustered, y'all.
Because I was about to say that page don't say that. Okay. All I tell them is
In 1 year, you're going to apply for your homestead credit. You'll be there all day trying to explain it. Contact information for all parties involved in the transaction. If you ever have a question or concern, any one of us listed can assist. Just need you to sign and date and flip over. You ready? All right, here's your first payment letter. Breaks out your principal and interest, taxes and insurance. Your first monthly payment is due on March 1st. In the event you do not receive a coupon book or statements, the copies that you receive is how you'll make that first payment. Sign and flip. Come on, girl, get with the program. Your initial escrow account disclosure, it shows you what goes into the account, what comes out. That's really how I talk.
that's really how
That's really how I talk. It's really how we talk. You've been in closing with me.
right.
It shows you what goes into the account. It shows you what goes out. Taxes go out 2 times per year. Homeowner's insurance goes out 1 time per year. Just need you to sign and date. Just flip. You want your pen? Oh, you got a pen. All right. This document here will authorize your lender to make your real estate property tax payments on your behalf, and they're going to do it twice a year. Just need your signature and date.
Why not once a year?
Because you own or occupy the property, so you're eligible to have a semi-annual payment.
Do I have the option to have it annually?
You do not.
If I want to pay for it in advance, I can't.
Mm-mm. They're going to set it up. No, they're going to split it. You show me one lender that's going to do it.
Okay.
All right. Your mortgage is subject to private mortgage insurance. So this is your private mortgage insurance disclosure. We have two. What this shows you here is the estimated date that the lender expects the private mortgage to fall off. If you do not remember that date, it will not automatically fall off until this year.
So what if I don't remember this date and I call in between? Can I still get it fall off?
Absolutely. If it's after this date, you can take it off. If it's before that date and the lender feels like you have some equity, they're going to reach out to you. Okay. Just need you to sign and date. All right. Here's your note. Your note reflects to you, once again, your interest rate being fixed. First payment due. Remember, this is your principal and interest payment, not monthly payment, because this does not yet include taxes and insurance. So with your note, you get a 15-day grace period. You can pay it on the 1st, the 15th, any day in between. After the 15th, you're going to be charged 5% of this as a late fee. You have any questions? It's not effective. I need you to initial all 3 pages and sign the last. Of course, I picked the package that wants all initials. Look at you. Look at you.
Don't forget to initial, y'all. The lender will send the package back.
You heard that? Say it louder.
Don't forget the initials at the bottom. Not every note has you initial, but if it says initial, make sure you initial. If it's both, if 2 people on the note, then 2 people, if 2 signatures are back here, then both people need to initial. Just put a dash and then the other person initial.
And it really is important because even though we all have correction agreements or power of attorneys, some lenders will not let us do it anyway. Not that I'm gonna go to anybody else.
And the rule of thumb is if you got to initial the note, you probably have to initial the deed of trust.
You heard that? All right, so next is your deed of trust, which is the document that we take to the courthouse that places the lien or mortgage against your property. It shows you how the property is vested. That simply means how you hold title or how your deed reads. It gives you your lender, loan amount, and trustee. This is a standard deed of trust, which explains to you that although you do have an escrow account to pay your taxes and insurance, please be mindful that it is ultimately your responsibility to be sure it stays current. And it explains to you what happens if you default on your loan. So if you ever receive anything in the mail that says supplemental tax or supplemental insurance, do not ignore it. Send it to the lender to be paid. Any questions?
No.
Initial all these pages and sign and date the last. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
I have a
ma'am.
question is not significant.
Yeah.
With all the recent terminology on how people want to be identified, I see on here it has a single woman.
I'm glad you brought that up. So we have been battling with the lenders. We do not determine how someone holds title. That is practice of law. We are not required in Maryland, DC, or Virginia to state somebody's marital status on their trust. But these lenders, a lot of them are West Coast, where on the West Coast they have dower rights. I'm a husband, she's a wife. I buy property, even though she's not on the deed, she has to join in everything I do. We cannot get them to get with it. So it technically should not even be on there. It doesn't need to be on the deed. If it's a single person, just a one person buying it, all it has to say is sole owner. But the marital status technically should not be on there. And that's not funny. It's a battle we have every day. Somebody asked me today, can you verify the vesting? I said, I cannot. I don't know if they're married. I don't know if they're not, and you should not put it on there.
I think you're referring to the he's, the she's, the thems, and the they.
Because that says unmarried woman or unmarried
That's
man.
their marital status, but not how they identify it.
But what if they identified as a man, but they were a woman? Then it would say unmarried. I don't want to be funny. I'm being recorded.
But
It hasn't-
this
it
is
hasn't-
a good conversation.
But it hasn't come up yet. It hasn't changed. We still have it as whatever you were born as, a natural woman, a natural man. They still put it on here, but it's by law, you don't have to have it on here in the state of Maryland. But they have not changed it. And if it does change, it will be on the lender side where they identify there first. These papers come from the lender. We don't create these papers.
Yeah. And it annoys me when they even put marital status on there because it's not supposed to be on there. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but this is a good point because I was just talking about how do you identify a transgender person and their ID isn't matching the sex change or whatever the case is.
I think most people will tell you up front. Like, you know what I mean? I think they would tell you up front.
Right.
Like if I had a sex change, if I was born a man, but my ID wasn't changed yet, I would just let you know I'm a she now or I'm a miss now. Don't you think? Because I'm looking at your ID and it's still says mail. What would you
I
do?
have never had that happen.
I haven't either.
Okay. I would just okay, but I feel like if you were a transgender, like you talking about like transgender, like they dress
Mm-mm.
the change.
Mhm.
Either full or partial.
A lot of times, I'm not even gonna say, because a lot of times you come to a place of business the way you're gonna be addressed, especially with that level of professionalism.
But she's saying, what if the person appears to be a female, but their ID still says male? What do you say? I don't say anything. Because usually I try to address the person by their name. I try to make a connection with the person. Remember before I said, you might have a room full, there might be 15 people with this buyer, but I'm looking at the buyer. Everything that I'm saying is directed to the buyer because everybody else doesn't matter to me because they're all going to have an opinion. So I don't even usually say Miss or Mr. I call them by their first name unless they correct me.
For another
And
scenario,
upon introductions from in another realm where I've served, they introduce themselves even if they are what they claim to be.
Yeah, they
So
introduce
that's
themselves how they
not-
want to
they
be
don't want
addressed.
There you go.
They don't want
Yeah.
to be disrespected. They want you to
Mhm.
know who I am today.
Right, but
I haven't come across it.
I think I don't want to listen. Don't put this on the internet. I get canceled before I even become mate. But I think just like you change your change your address, you ain't got to change the search card to go with the ID or something.
Not every state allows it yet.
no.
Oh, okay.
Some states do have a specific affidavit.
Mhm.
Some states do allow you to put something. on
New
your
York is one of
ID
them.
to say,
New
this is
York
who
and New
I
Jersey, I
am.
think.
All
right.
Question I have: what if you go to borrower, they just got married, but the doctor is either the maiden name or the married name, and something hasn't been updated as yet?
Whatever's on their ID is how they have to sign. So that happens a lot because they may get to the realtor and they may have just gotten married. And so the realtor might contract them that way with their married name. But when they come to sit at the table, their ID doesn't reflect it. I won't proceed unless you give me your marriage license.
It shouldn't even get that far.
But it
You
always
have to
does.
you have to show the lender. I mean, I guess we work with great partners. I don't have these type of issues.
I do.
First of all, the real estate agent should know what your name is. She does the contract first. That goes. The lender should know what your name is. They have to see your ID. You have to prove identity. So by the time you come to us, the name should already be done. It should. Maybe it could be misspelled because of it went down the road, but not. They're Jones, but they should be Kennedy. No,
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
no, that's never happened. Because it would have to start from the beginning.
I guess I get all the crap because it's happened. But usually what happens is the person will let us know, hey, I was just married. And then the processors will be able to say, okay, just send us this. So we have the marriage license in file because it's identity. And then we can just match the docs. Yes.
I mean, if they got married within the time in which the transaction was going on, I can understand like when they first got the loan, now they changed their name over. But in the beginning, you put down your name in that system.
So it's okay for the notary to over document and X
Hell yeah.
in a situation
Mhm.
like that where those documents
Mhm.
are already being requested.
Yep. Marriage license, divorce decree. But the divorce decree would have to specifically say they can have, their maiden name because it doesn't, just because you get divorced doesn't mean you get your name back. All right. You guys ready? Yep. This is the PUD rider. This will be recorded with the deed of trust. It advises the county that you live in a community where HOA or condo fees are collected. I just need your signature and date.
You don't want me to initial it anymore? You want me to stop?
No more initials. I'll let you know. Oh,
It says initials.
I lied to you. So good catch. I need you to initial for me. I told y'all she was coming for me.
Not that I lied to you, but
Protection agreement understood by an attorney. In the event you forget to date or initial something and the title company misses it, the lender is going to do it for us both. Yeah. My bad. This is your lender's compliance agreement. In the event the docs were to contain any errors or additional information was required, you promise to provide that information for your lender. Just need your signature and date. I'm sure you have. A lot of the documents that you're signing today, you have already signed. This is just kind of a recap, but you electronically sign them. Today, you're wet signing them so they can go back to the investor.
So what do I need to think compliance? You said they need to reach me and get something else. What else do they need to give me after they've already
What
moved it
might-
along?
So if you read this paragraph right here, it'll exactly tell you what I mean.
But it's not telling me what they could possibly ask for after the fact.
What they could ask for after the fact. Let's see. If the documents had any clerical errors, nothing to do financially, if there was a misspelling of your name, if there was a misspelling of the lender's name, a misspelling of the property address, and they needed you to re-execute documents, by signing this document, you comply with their request. Although we do everything we can to make sure there's no mistakes, sir.
I'll take that.
Signature name affidavit. I just need you to sign and date exactly how you've signed everything so far.
What are these other names?
Those are variations of names that have come off your credit report, actually. So it would be a good idea for you to contact your lender and obtain a copy of your credit report so you can fix any errors.
Where they come from?
The credit report and way that people put your name in. Sometimes people misspell your name. My name is spelled 50 million different ways.
So how do you want me to sign here?
I want you to sign exactly how it appears right there.
Gotcha.
This document states that you intend to own or occupy the property as your primary residence per the terms of your note.
What if I want to rent it out?
Unfortunately, with a government insured mortgage, we're pretending you cannot. You have to own or occupy the property. What you do with the property is your business, but I'm here to sign this today.
So after 60 days, can I rent it out?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm like,
Document advises you if you're late or miss a payment. Now remember, late means 30 days or more. That's when they report it to the credit bureau. Because I'm stuck on FHA. FHA is owner occupancy only. Now, technically speaking, the loan that Miss Leah is signing for today is not an FHA. It's conventional. They could rent it out if they wanted to. Maryland disbursement authorization authorizes the lender to net fund their fees. It does not affect you in any way. It simply means anything they've charged on the loan, they're going to hold back from the wire and send the title company only the difference.
Okay, so this means that you can give out the money that the mortgage company is giving me today?
This means that when the lender sends us the wire, instead of sending us the full loan amount, they're going to hold back their fee so I don't have to write them a check.
Okay, that's part of it.
Mhm.
But what if the seller hasn't done what they need to do? Can you hold their money for me until they do what they need to do?
Absolutely not.
Why? Because this is saying that I have authorization to authorize you to disperse the money that the lender's giving to you. So how can you tell me how you're going to disperse it?
Because once you sign, you sign. I can't hold an escrow just because there's a dispute between you and the seller. We can stop closing. We can postpone closing. We can reschedule, but we cannot hold random escrows.
Okay.
Ooh, she mad too, y'all. See, and so when your client gets mad, you make a joke. Would you like some water?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay. This document right here states that you've received a copy of your appraisal. If you did not, it will explain to you how to obtain one. This document right here states you were not discriminated against regarding your credit. But if you feel you were, they tell you who you can write to. All right, borrower certification and authorization. You certify all the information you provided to your lender is true. You will also authorize the lender to release information regarding your credit, and that would be to the credit bureaus or anyone interested in purchasing your loan.
Does that mean people gonna start calling my phone all the time now that you release my information?
Well, we don't release your information. This is for your lender to release information regarding your payment history to the credit bureaus. But if we're speaking honestly, yes, when you get a loan, you're going to get an absorbent amount of junk mail.
Okay.
I'm honest. Flood certification, your property is not found to be in a flood zone, but if at any point in time it is, you promise to purchase flood insurance. So this document right here, hazard insurance authorization and requirements. You authorize the lender to be named as a mortgagee on your homeowner's insurance policy, which they've already done. And you also authorize the lender to, you promise to keep the minimum amount of coverage on the property per the instruction of the lender. You have any questions so far? All right, this document explains to you why you're going to re-sign some of your IRS documents because they are going to look familiar to you. So IRS Form 4506T or 4506C will authorize the lender to request a transcript or copy of your tax returns for the years that are listed at the bottom. And those are the years that the lender used to approve your loan.
Sorry, I gave you a copy.
I know you did, but this is for the future and actually is only used upon default. So we're not going to worry about this being used because you're not going to default on your loan.
So I don't have to sign it?
You do have to sign it. Unfortunately, your first document that you signed was signed electronically. You need a wet signature for the new servicer.
What was I sign?
You're going to sign and date right there.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, IRS Form W-9.
Pause.
Yeah,
This is a very important form, y'all.
listen,
When the soldiers come back, it is your responsibility, this box right here above the signature line, to get checked off. it is saying that this is valid for only amount for 90 days, I believe. This box has to be checked.
What form is that?
The
4506 C.
4506 fee form.
Sometimes it says T.
What is that form you said?
It's a request for tax transfer.
What if you don't want the request to pay?
You don't have a choice. It's part of your loan.
So make sure this box is checked saying that you agreed to this. Even though you signed it, it has to be checked. And then the 90 days, this one doesn't actually have the 90 days, but there is a part that says this is valid for 90 days, and then it'll be on some lenders, they'll have a place where the borrower has to initial on this form.
And whose taxes are they reporting?
Okay, so
Mine,
this,
is
yeah.
personal taxes. So this is how they, go ahead, you see this.
Mhm. So if you look at the years that are listed on there, those are the years that the lender used to approve this loan. So the reason that they have this document, if you default on your mortgage, they're going to pull these transcripts to make sure that it wasn't fraud. That's all it is, for real. Because how did you default on your mortgage? Unless, of course, you lost your job or something like that. But they're not going to, it's not for future taxes. It's for the tax, what do you call those things? W-2s that you use to get approved for this loan.
So I can't lie about my income. Or
So you, exactly. You can try it now if you want to. I mean, back in the day they used to, but I don't know if you want to try that now.
So does that box come pre-checked like the
No.
rest of the company?
There's maybe one lender does a little
Yeah,
X,
one
one lender, but other than that,
I can't even
yes.
tell you what lender that is.
No, and I know I've gotten, after we sign the documents, we usually have to scan them to the lender, and that'll be one of the things you didn't check the box
And
on
they will
4506.
hold our funding.
Mm-hmm. No lie. IRS Form W-9 verifies your social.
Why should I care if they hold up funding as a notary? I'm just trying to get my appointment done and get out.
Why should you care? Because we're about to pay you for doing a closing. If you didn't do it correctly, you don't get paid either.
So if that funding is delayed, that means I can't get my money.
Mhm.
Nobody gets that.
Nobody gets paid. Oh, look, she's sassy. Sassy. That's why it's important. Remember before we said, get familiar with the package, learn what should be there, what shouldn't be there. If there's an issue, call the title company. If there's an issue at the table, I would rather somebody blow my phone up and ask me a question than to make a decision on your own.
I don't want to call nobody because I decided to take an early morning appointment before the office opened.
Yeah, don't
You
call me
can't.
before 9:30.
What do you mean, an early morning appointment?
Never
Hours
knew.
between 9 and 5 business hours. So you should be able to call any of us at any given time to ask a
Well,
question.
I called my signer and we switched it to the 7 o'clock appointment because I have a full day today.
Well, that'll be the last time you work for me.
No, honestly speaking, yeah, I don't know how you do it too. Excuse me. I don't go through signing companies. The only signing company we go through is Notaries 24/7. Haven't had a problem. But if you're going to hire somebody locally, you know them, you hire them, right? We don't want those kind of issues because the first time that you mess up on a package for a title company and they have to clean up behind you, I promise you, you won't get another signing. And title company community is very small. We're going to tell each other. So people make mistakes, of course, but never leave a closing without contacting the title company if there's an issue. If there's an issue with money, if there's an issue with ID, you need to call them because if you look at the statute, even when you are closing a loan for us, you're actually working under our title licenses. So we're responsible for you. You're working under our E&O. We're responsible for you. So I would expect that you have the same respect because I don't like to call people later. And I did have a notary recently that she got frustrated. She left. She didn't tell us she was leaving.
What you mean?
She got frustrated and she left.
She left the closing?
Mhm.
What?
She left the closing and the seller called us. So I promise you she will never be employed again. And I'll tell everybody I know. Because all she had to do was pick up the phone. Hey, whatever happened. The seller was giving her, let's put it this way, she couldn't explain a document and he was frustrated. So, I would be frustrated too. But what she should have done is called one of us to see if we could have, explained the document instead of just picking up and leaving and saying, I'm not going back. And then try to charge us $75 for the trip. Hold your breath. She was over there trying to thump us too. So IRS form.
Not to go to an appointment. I don't finish it, I still don't get paid.
Not the way that she walked out. Now, if you went and they refused to sign,
No, you're not getting paid. It depends on.
it depends
how
on
far
the,
travel
yeah,
you
it depends
have.
on the
It's just
situation.
inconvenient, but we don't get paid unless
Exactly.
they close it. So it's no like extra funds just to pay you. 'cause
Do you know how many
showed
times
up.
right? Do you know how many times I've gone to the table? I had two. I had one a few months ago. I got to the table. I don't wake up before 10 o'clock. They bullied me to close this loan at 9:30. I show up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. The man comes in and says, I don't want the house anymore. Do you think I got paid? And I had to wake up early. You already know. My phone stays on do not disturb. So yeah, I mean, we're in the business that if it doesn't close, you don't get paid. That's a risk you take. But like I said, if there was an issue at the table, you should call. If I have an issue at the table and I can't figure it out, I'm calling my office. Well, what do you think I should do? You know, how do I handle this? What do I do? I'm not going to just get up and walk away. So no, she doesn't deserve the $75 that she wanted.
However, if you did travel and you have a travel fee and it didn't close, you are entitled to your travel fee.
Yeah.
Well, but if using that scenario though, I'm entitled to a travel fee, but I got frustrated and I got.
Oh, no, not that situation. I'm
Mm-mm.
just saying if a trial didn't close and you went to Annapolis,
Okay.
you know, a lot of people have relationships with us, but they're not gonna charge us. But if it was like a random service and they had a travel fee, they probably would send us an invoice
Mhm.
if you honor it because you did go out there and no fault of your own.
Right.
But the relationships you have you usually don't charge them because they're not getting a dime from it if it doesn't close.
IRS Form W-9 verifies your social. Is this correct?
Yeah.
All right. I need you to initial here, sign and date for me, please. I'm waiting. What's this for? This is your amortization schedule. It breaks out the principal and interest payments over the course of the entire loan. The earlier the loan, more interest. The later the loan, more principal. You do not have a prepayment penalty, which means you are welcome to make any additional principal payments you want. And your 1003 loan application. You know, sign here. Not really. And sign here. You have any questions or concerns?
Where did this information come from?
That information dumps from your credit report.
Where you gotta get this address?
Credit report.
I have, that's not the amount of money in my account. Does that matter? Or,
It really doesn't matter, but at the time that you took application, that's what the lender was provided.
okay.
Go Leah. Go Leah.
I do things a little different, but okay. It's pretty much the same thing.
It works for me.
There's a couple of shortcuts. I see.
Well, maybe you need to show me the shortcuts because Lee closes a little bit longer. She explains a little bit more. My philosophy is by the time you sit at the table with me, if you don't, all you need to know, your payment is right, your cash to close is right, and your interest rate is right. Everything else is a disclosure. Everything else that's in that package, you've already signed. If there's a bunch of questions at the table, there shouldn't be.
So the payment, interest, and
Payment, interest, cash to close. Those are the most important things, right? Most buyers they don't care about the price of the house. They care about how much is it going to cost me every month. Now, of course, there's been a few times lately, which is odd, where the payment was actually $50 or more higher than they thought. That's difficult because I'm not here to sell a loan. I'm here to close a loan. So when I have issues like that at the table that have anything to do with any charges from the lender or any variation of what the lender told them the cash to close was, that's when I say this would be a good time to give your loan officer a call.
So have you had versus loan officers?
Yeah.
How do you handle those situations? When the numbers are wrong?
Because I still have to keep my own, what is the word? I still have to remain professional and I still have to keep my own reputation. I try not to call people out. I try not to call people out in that setting. I had a transaction the other day where the lender underdisclosed. So the first thing he said to the buyer was, you don't need the title insurance. You're buying a lender's policy, you'll be covered. Y'all took the title insurance class, right? Does that lender policy cover that buyer? Okay, I was just making sure maybe there's something new. So he told my realtor that the title agent didn't know what she was talking about. Why did he use our company? Or why did she use our company? And he just talked a lot of crap. But I sold it at the table and we kept it, and it pissed him off. Basically, what I told him was, do not ask me to, he wanted me to lower my fees. He wanted my agent to give a credit. That's a RESPA violation. The lender is responsible for disclosure, not me as a title agent, not you as the realtor. So therefore, if anybody needs to change their fees, it needs to be him. So $14.95 later for a credit, we closed. And then when he called me, you know him too, I'm not gonna say his name. When he called me, he was like, oh, you know, that was the buyer, da, 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 da. I said, well, do me a favor. If we ever run across each other again and we have a closing, please don't tell people not to buy an owner's policy of title insurance. Have a little bit of respect. Maybe pick up the phone, call me, tell me what the issue is. Let's try to work it out. I said, but that's not cool because you're making $20,000. My title policy is $1,900. I don't get $1,900. But you ever come across rude ones? All the time.
I usually don't. When it comes to the part I play in the title company, I usually, when we're dealing with the rudeness of it, it's like because they're frustrated about other stuff. I just try to reel them into like what's best for the client. When it comes to numbers being off, I just like, let's put it on paper, let's make it make sense. I done been there calculating 0.5 transfer taxing because it's a computer. A lot of people don't know how to do it by hand and break it down. So being in the title for so long, I know how to say I do all the disbursements. So before I get to the table, we have no problem with money. The only time money comes up is if they said something to their client. But one thing I realized recently when I bought my house in the last couple of years, every single thing signed at the table, they signed before they got to the table. Every single piece of paper. This is not the first time they're seeing this. Every time something changes, we had to sign it all over again. So if it's 100 papers in front of us, it was 100 papers online that we had a PDF sign. We signed it there, and there is an electronic copy. So this is not the first time. So the lender should have gave them some type of inclination. They already got this. They have to get this CD 3 days ahead of time. So when they come to the table, they fussing with you that this is off. They've been knew that was off 3 days ago. So they're trying to make it your problem. And if you have a good relationship with the lender, then you guys could like talk about it. But they've already seen this. They know what it is. And the fact that you're going over it is because sometimes they don't know their lenders or meet their lenders. They're just signing stuff online and get it done. They're excited. And we sit there and actually break down what you signed, what you're doing, and have a wet signature for the lender. But this is not new to them. So we shouldn't have too much arguing going on. You know, I'm in Charles County. I'm not MPG, so we don't have the type of issues in Charles without mentioning.
So apparently I do a lot in PG and DC. We have a little bit different.
And I do a lot of Virginia, so we different over here.
No, it does make a difference though, but it's learn your package. I challenge you all, take a package, read it. Read everything about a note, read everything about the trust. The deed of trust is really not going to change regardless. You can Google one online. The note, the only thing that might change,
Interest rate.
So when it comes down, okay, so being a loan signer, you want to get out of there quick, right? You don't want them to ask you a whole bunch of questions because you weren't there for the process. You really just want to stamp your stamp and go on, right? But they're going to ask you questions and you really don't understand. So stuff like the deed of trust, I learned this like 20 years ago. I say the deed of trust, your deed of trust, my deed of trust, your deed of trust,
all the same.
Only thing that changes are the boldest stuff in the beginning. Your personal information, who you gonna pay back, how you gonna pay them back, how much, when. Everything else says you stay, you pay. You don't, you won't.
That's what my attorney used to say.
Other than that, that's it. There's nothing different on the other page and the other page and your page and my page. First 2 pages, that's the only information that changes, and it's just letting you know this document goes back to the county and says, hey, they have a loan. Nope, goes back to the lender, says, hey, we promise to pay. Once you do a refi, when the title company comes back, the deed of trust that went to the title department that says, oh, they have a loan, we have to pay it off. That's what that does. And then you get a loan you get your note back from the lender and said that's paid off. That's it. It's 2 different documents just to let 2 separate entities know you owe this money. So you pay, you stay, you don't, you won't. The 16 pages telling you how you won't stay if you don't pay. That's it.
And it's not necessary to go line by line on the CD because you may not know even what that charge is. So why put yourself in a position to try to explain something that you don't know? Like I said before, if you're not licensed to sell a loan, don't talk about the loan. We're not here at the table to sell the mortgage. We're here to close the loan. That's it. Yes, ma'am.
Dollar is supposed to have gotten these documents ahead of time and read them ahead of time, but they want to sit and go line by line at my 1 hour appointment, and I'm trying to rush out. How should I handle that to tell them they should have either known this information before I got here or they can read it after I leave?
Your opinion might differ from mine, but I feel like the more confident you are in explaining to them what the documents are, the easier it is for them to sign. Now, if I have someone that wants to read, and generally those people are attorneys, realtors, and lawyers because they want to challenge you. You are more than welcome to read this package. I'm going to step into the other room. Just let me know when you're done because I'm not going to sit there and watch you read. It don't happen too often. Does it happen a lot with you? And the only doc they get in advance is a CD. Yeah. Yeah. They just get the CD in advance.
I do have people want to go line by line, but if you're a first time home buyer, I bought my first house at 22 and I didn't know what I signed. In 5 years, my rate went all the way up. The closer did not sit there. It was a balloon loan. I didn't know what that was. And that closer did not sit there and explain it to me. So I make sure, especially you first time home buyer, you know what you get into. You know when that payment's going to go up, you know everything. But I say it quick enough and informative enough that I don't have to do it line by line. I also tell them, you can read all this at home if you have it on here, but nothing is going to change today. But I'm telling you what you're signing and what you're signing up for. That's it. So it doesn't, we have to go line by line because I'm usually talking and flipping at the same time that you already have no question. The only questions that you really have is who you pay, when you pay it to, like the HOA, because they think that's wrapped up. I just remember the questions. I had it 23 years old, so I just have like a soft spot for first time home buyers. So I do go a little bit more detail with them, but I still get it done in an hour.
I would say the first time home buyers, yeah. Of course, you would be a little bit more patient, but I don't have too many people give me a hard time. Except,
If you look like you're not confident in what you're doing and you're scared, they're going to challenge you.
Yes.
You're like, what are you doing? Like, I'm about to pay $3,000 a month and you don't even know where I'm supposed to find my name. They're not going to be confident with your abilities. But if you go in there confident, like you know what you're doing, or if you say, let me step out real quick because this is different than I expected yourself and call somebody, that's how you gain your confidence. Or just make sure they sign it, put it to the side, and you don't know where you're supposed to sign, don't mess it up. Because then we have to get their signature all over again. You can come sign in the office. Remember that. We could find you. You can do your part later. You do not have to notarize at that table. But you need to get our doc signed at the table, or else you're going to be looking for people. And then we can't find anybody, no good, bad, or indifferent. Once they get their keys, they're gone.
They don't care.
And so is the agent. It's like pulling teeth, but you call me every day. I thought we had a relationship. Then I can't even find you. You're no longer available at 1 o'clock.
Oh.
You told me, always call me between 1. Like once the deal is closed,
They're done.
it's over. So make sure you just get their signature, be confident in what you say, and that's it. Just go over it. Make sure that every lender might have a different set of documents, but if you skim it, you know what it means. Like when she skims stuff, some things I don't put in those wordings, but she was right about everything she said. But we're also different. I just do things a little different. She learned her way. I learned backwards. So that's how it was for me. Did that answer your question, Nicole?
So the next question was, how can I appear more confident at the table? But you put direction on with me.
Yeah, it's practice.
Just remember, the closing table is yours. Like this is my show. So therefore, Karen, you've been in closing with me before. Not to be disrespectful to my realtors or the lenders that are there, but we're here. You all did your part. Let me do my part now.
And don't let the realtors control your table.
At all.
They did
No disrespect.
And I'm a realtor.
Yes, that too.
I'm a realtor, so don't let the realtors control your table. Because I have them want to say, well, so don't do that. But you didn't send your file over there. Let me do my job. Let us do what we take to do. And you can talk to me on the side later, but don't let them control the table. You can let them talk. You don't have to be rude, but reel your client back in. Like that sounds like she knows. She sounds like she knows what she's talking about. However, the way we do it here is You don't never discredit them. You keep them lifted because you want that client back, but you don't go back and forth. That's your table, on your table.
Truth, because I've had instances where realtors want to do my job and explain, and they're not explaining things correctly. So just like Leah said, I stay in this lane. I don't go in that lane, and I don't go in that lane. You have to remain confident, professional, and get it done. And it's not just for the people that you're closing for, but for the title company that might have employed you. Because the better you do, the easier it is for the title company. The more confident they are to call you and say, hey, I have a refi, or hey, I have a seller side, or, hey, can you cover this closing? I don't know how Leah feels, but it's real hard for me to relinquish control. Because I like to close my clients' loans because I feel like nobody will do it exactly how I do it. And they might say something wrong or do something wrong, but it's not hard.
So how can I appear confident as a notary when I want to come and market and network with people who own the title companies or work in the title companies to be an extra helping hand for them?
So of course, I inbox everybody who inboxes me over the past 2 years. Can I shadow you? How do I network? How do I build a book of business? The same way we have to. You have to network. You have to get to know people. So there's no difference between, I think too many of the notary signing agents are focused on calling the title companies. I get it, because we're the ones that assign the work. I told you I'm not trying to train people to be my competition.
So, okay.
But I'm going to give you a suggestion.
Okay.
Market to the realtors. And when the realtors take it to the title company, hey, I'll send you this client, but I need to see if this person can close it. And then make an impression from there. Like, you have one up. You have plenty of realtor partners that you could be marketing to. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Y'all are not gonna get enough. Go ahead. What do you say?
I don't think anybody's my competition. I think we all partners in the title company. Starting this so young as a woman and being a woman-owned company, I want everybody to succeed. So what she's saying, without saying it, I'm gonna say it. I have to go get my client. Lori has to go get her client. We own the company, so they're Bayview's clients. So we'll call a real sign. No, we actually call title producers to go sign our loans. When we do that, we save you off of doing us the job because we didn't show up. Because we're trying not to do closings anymore because we can't close, process, and
Market and fund.
So, but if you're bringing your own business, like if you are a title producer and you bring your own business, now we talking, because now we can pay you off of the title insurance. So if we make 3,000 off that file, you're gonna make 1,500 minus 295 starting 2003.
I've been telling you that.
You'll make that 1,500 minus 295.
Do you get what she's
And
saying?
that's it. But if we're calling you to close our files, we're going to pay you $225 for the purchase and $175 for a refi. Thank you. You did this for us. And you did not bring this book of business to us. So let's say you are Leanne's client, right? I don't know what her company has set up, but we at Bayview, that's how we do our split, 50-50 minus 295 now, because we were absorbing all the cost of the paper, the this, the that. So you have to put in.
Her friend is the one that told her she needed to start charging people.
So I would just give it to you half, 1,500. Everything else on us. We got to pay the salary. We got to pay this. We got to get the paper. So we weren't really getting half. Like we had to really break that down. So let's just say you got all your people at exit, like, hey, I want you guys to be paid. You're going to get paid off all of that. You might not even show up to settlement, but you still going to get that 1,500 or whatever it is, because you sold title insurance to them and they used our company. Now you're a salesperson.
If you all are listening, yes. What was the point of getting your title license?
So I could be
To get $225 a closing?
No.
Mm-mm.
Exactly. So when you have,
This insider, go ahead, finish it.
so she said reach out to the agents. Agents can't always steer their business. You might have a lot of sellers. Like I could talk to you every day and I see you closing. I'm like, hey, they couldn't give us like one deal. That could have been the seller. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, everybody has love, but
Mhm.
it could have been the seller. But your people, like your loan officers, and it's not your friends. Your friends are buying one house and they're gonna hold on to it for like 15, 20 years. That's not gonna be residual.
Mm-mm.
That's cute. That's nice. That's good money. Then you did something for your friend, you were able to keep it in house. She hooked you up. You got a little change off of her, but she's not residual income. your grandmother, your sister, but they're not resist unless they're investors, unless they're loan officers, unless they're real estate agents. You're not going to get constant business off of them. So you just telling them what you're doing. I'm working with this company, but understand if you do settlements for Leah company, you can also do it for Leanne's company. You don't have to just be a baby. You're not baby. You're independent. We send your license to our underwriter, make sure that you're covered underneath our insurance and our bonds. That's another thing. We're paying for insurance and bonds. You guys didn't have the money. We weren't getting them. But that's another story. We got a lot of stuff to pay, but you are independent. You can do settlements for all of us. Now, who you send your book of business to is different because they might only give you $300-400 off a file you bring. I don't know what they do. They're not my competition. She's my friend. You know, we all eat together. If she wins, I win. If I win, she wins. And we met in the title realm, so it's not like we were friends first. So.
Love wins.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah.
And so think about it. The reason you have your license is to make money. That's a whole nother class. But you have to build your book of business. A good girlfriend, well, a friend of mine who was a realtor who became a title insurance producer was like, well, I'm calling title companies and they won't hire me. They're not going to. Why would I give you a salary and you have nothing? Like, what do you have to give? Why would I give you anything? Some title companies might even require that you have a steady book of business instead of, Leah might say, okay, you bring me one a month, I'll give you 50-50. Where other title companies might say, no, I need a guaranteed 5 before we can negotiate a percentage. But you need to think past 225. You want to make some money? Think past it. Right. We can all go together.
Why leave it on the table?
Nothing.
Why? Let that be your person. If you guys are signing up with Notary, signing up, I don't know.
They get it.
I don't know. Wherever you're doing these
Yeah.
and those realtors like you, they could become your client.
Well, you gotta be careful with that.
Well, not if they're sending, like those
Yeah.
apps that send you
Yes.
places. I'm talking about that. Now, if you close something for Leanne, like if I closed a file for Leanne before, so if I can't,
and vice versa.
I can't market to you for like, why you over here? Why you we can get it on Facebook. No, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing that. That's Leanne's client. I came to do a thing, but I don't care if I got to see you and talk to you first, and that's it. You understand? Like, but my old broker told me you shouldn't know the company's name, you know that person's name. You want to do business with me. So you want people to do business with you. It doesn't matter if prize over top of your head or bathe you. You want them to come back and do business with you. So they're going to follow you wherever. It doesn't matter where Leanne is. If you like doing business with Leanne, you're going to go wherever Leanne goes. What her company does for her, that's her between her and the company. But you know what Leanne brings to the table. So you have to work on what you're bringing to the table. If people want you at every table they're at.
Oh, I like that. They want you at every table you're at. There you're at.
I feel like this is a good insider conversation of how we're ending. So since with the essence of time, we actually did good. I wanted to close us out on a high point because I feel like this is insider information that the other certification companies ain't teaching. And since we're specialist title insurance producers, for independent, that's also a notary and calls yourself a signing agent because we got Virginia and DC people as well that don't have the insurance licenses yet. How do we start to build that book of business?
Post it. Social media, everybody's on social media. I could care less what you ate today if you went to the gym and if you stuck to your resolution.
Network.
But if you sit there and you tell me that you are now a title producer, I'm letting you know. I'm scrolling right past it. Oh, she's a I'm gonna give you a story. I don't know if anybody follows me on Facebook. I think you do, right? I don't know if you saw one of my new closers, Arena Tyler. Okay, Arena Tyler from Love and Marriage DC. I love her to death. She is one of my closers now. And I followed her off of her celebrity status, yes. But then when she said she was a loan signing agent, I was like, I'm going after her. I went after her on Facebook. I went after her Instagram. We finally connected like 2 weeks. I sent her email. The first time she sent me an email. I think that was on her husband's page. Sent the email, they didn't respond. And I'm not a stalker. I'm not going to keep asking you to send me stuff. But I was like, she keep posting like she ain't find nobody yet. So I'm gonna keep going, So she was like, if you need somebody, sign on. So then I hit her on Instagram because she did another. It looked like she finally responded to my comment, but I didn't see it. So then I said, listen, I'm not a bot. I'm a real person. I'm gonna hit you in your inbox. I really want, and I'm in Waldorf. you know, so I want to get, you know, get this information. It was 3 o'clock in the morning on IG. I was in her DM, then she called me at 10. I'm like her, I don't wake up before 10. She called me 10:30. That was on a Wednesday. By Friday, she was in my office and she wants to do closings with us exclusively. And since then we've got 3 hotels coming up in Virginia for her. She does a lot of big deals. But I went after her on social media. I had to come out that box because that's what everybody is. They steadily posted. So let's post what I need. I need closers. I'm gonna go after. I really put it in how to become a title producer license. I said, you're a reigning title. You don't want to make $225 a file. Like, so you close this $8 million hotel, well, I'm gonna give you $225.
Like, we're not trying to be disrespectful. We're talking about the 225.
Right, I mean,
But if you could see I used to make $15,000 a month in commission
yeah, you have to
back in the
understand,
days.
we're not being petty things.
No.
We have a title producer license. We cannot split title insurance keys unless you have a license. Like, it's against wrestlers. So when we get audited every year, and it's like, where did this money go from your title insurance? And if we paid it out to you and you're not a licensed title insurance, we're shut down. So you have to be, in order for us to split that, we can split the other fee we go on, but we cannot split the title insurance fee, and that's what we get paid off of.
And then the last question, because there's a lot of notaries in Maryland that know about getting the different certifications for the notary combination, but they don't have the type of producer license. So to the point that you just made, how do you handle the situation if you find out after the fact that that person only had a certification and not actually their insurance license and close money alone?
They would have never done that. We wouldn't have gotten that far.
Say you want to close with me and you're serious, I'm like, here's my email address, send me your license so I can give it to my underwriter. Once you do that and you're appointed, then we go from there. Then I would probably let you, if you're experienced, I would let you go, but I would like to see how you do close and explain docs, just in case you're not like confident or, you know, seasoned, or you don't know what you're saying, or I got to help you with something, because all it is to teach you, and I'm going to give you the information that was given to me. So, you know.
And there's nothing wrong with asking a question. You know, if you don't, one of the young ladies that closes for us had a question about a document. She called me before she went to closing. She was like, I'm not sure about this document. Can you explain it to me? Yeah, this is what this document is. Then she was fine. So there's nothing wrong with not knowing what it is. It's easier to ask the question than to get into a position where you're trying to explain it, making up a story, and then like my client over here started questioning me about that's not what B said.
Because it wasn't. But I understand why.
A said, but A said.
Like, I don't do what she does, because I do tell you what it is. I'm like, this is a whole bunch of lender garbage, not verbiage that says you don't have a prepayment. This loan is assumable or is not assumable, and here's the difference in the price they quoted you to today, and there's a credit. That's what I say on that 4th page, by the way.
For the CD?
For the CD, yes.
Oh, so remember, this is
And then I say the CD. Then I say the Alta, huh?
I think that was, I don't even, in the Alta, because I didn't do any of the title docs. I just say this is the Alta form, same exact information, but we use this for funding. So I don't even go over the Alta.
I don't do that.
Yeah.
I say, you know how I said the CD, you have a CD for the seller with their fees, you got a CD for you with your fees. With your fees of your business, CD, seller CD, business. But we need one all together because it's all my business.
We got to fund
So
it.
I need a form that everybody has the fees together, all together. And then we go like that.
I like that, Alta all together.
Yeah. I make you understand. I make it fun. I want you to come back. I want you to sign up. I want you to.
I'm fun in my
I
closings.
want you to be able to understand when you left that you're not calling me and saying I made a mistake. I don't know what
That part, yeah.
all that extra stuff. I'm not trying to do that. I only want to do it once.
On the realtor side, I've been at closing and then the signing agent. Can you pass that to Karen? Because I don't understand what that form is.
See, that's a problem.
Was it your form?
No, it was in the closing stuff. And it wasn't even for my client. But the sellers, it was for the buyers.
Oh, did they know you do clothing?
No, this was before I got licensed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Did
I've
you-
had agents
did you
videotape
go back to
from
it?
closing
No.
people who did not know how to close a loan, and she's sending me the videotape. It's embarrassing. But did you guys learn enough?
Was it anything- did you
I
learn
do talk
anything
fast.
that you didn't already know?
Oh, that's a good question.
Lily ain't can talk 50 minutes a word a minute.
Make sure you put that in your feedback. All right, so did any of y'all have any questions? We don't have
I don't have any questions right now, that I could think of right off. Thank you, ladies. Very good presentation. A little fast, but still got some. And know that we'll get a copy of that. Is that what you said? Yes?
Yes.
You can pass out our contact information. We'll help. if you have questions. If they have a question.
Oh, yeah.
What are we helping with?
I thought you
I
was
just
helping out.
signed you up.
No, I thought it was putting on videos. What we
Oh,
putting
no.
videos?
I don't know nothing about the
Was there
videos.
anything that you guys have come across in the past at the table that you had trouble when you ran into it? That how did you handle it, or is there a better way that you want to know how to handle it? Because the reason why I know about the deed of trust, I was just so confused about what that document was. So when I asked somebody, they told me to pay you stay and stuff. So I just locked into that for 22 years. So yeah, so I don't want to figure.
Go for it. Go through it.
Yeah, 16 pages.
Bobby Lee would say, you pay, you stay, you don't, you won't.
Yeah.
I said, you can't say that to a first time home buyer. It works.
Had a balloon,
Mhm.
and I was taking it very,
Very.
fast, and it ballooned to the point where I had to leave. I couldn't stay, and I didn't know. I was just ignorant. I didn't know the next steps. But I gotta go.
Yeah.
So back before the market crash, even when we had those type of loans, it wouldn't matter. I could talk to, I was blue in the face explaining to people. I will never forget this young lady bought a house down there in that Maniquí, and she had one of those introductory interest only
Oh.
loans. So for legitimately, the first payment was as low as it could be. It was interest only. And I said to her once, I said to her 5 times, you do understand that the following month your mortgage is, I know. Okay. Guess who called me the second monthly payment wanting to know why it went up? Man, we had this conversation and you told me you understood. Guess who lost her house? Now, I've done quite a few adjustable rates lately because that's how people are getting in. And I always make sure that they understand how it's going to change, when it will change, how many interest percents it can go up. What is this, what does it make your mortgage payment look like? Because of that lady, I'm like, do you understand? Because like Leah said, I want you to call me later and tell me that I didn't tell you, because I know I did. But back then, people didn't want to hear anything. They didn't care that they had a 9% rate and a $3,000 mortgage payment that's going to go up to $4,000 in 30 days. It didn't matter how much you said, or the prepayment penalties, which are illegal now, but the prepayment penalties, trying to explain that to them. That was fun. They know.
So we have a statement online. What's a good way to learn the terminology and the language on the documents?
That was good. I was thinking about it when you said 1003. So I'll say quickly the ones I can remember off the head. My head 1003 is also a loan application. A CD is also a closing
Disclosure.
The 506T form is the form that you have to say that they get to see your tax return document. What else? The DOT, if it says DOT, that's deed of trust.
Deed of trust, deed.
Or they might say a mortgage. That's also the trust. Different people say different things. The deed's going to be the deed. It might say deed simple. Sometimes.
Deed shows who owns it. Deed of trust / mortgage is recorded to say how much you owe. Note
Goes back to the lender.
goes back to the lender. 1003 loan application. Flood certification.
There's no acronym for that. It's like more so like
Flood
some
cert?
people say, yeah, the flood cert. Because some people say, oh, can I
MIP, PMI. MIP, mortgage insurance premium, only for FHA. PMI, private mortgage insurance for conventional. What else? Alta? Would you call it Alta?
finance?
Finance affidavit.
The refinance affidavit. That's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
FTHB, first time home buyer. Yeah. So those are little ones.
Owner OC.
Who says that?
Me. Owner OC. You gonna owner OC the property?
Okay. If she
Owner
said
occ-
that means owner occupancy.
Owner occupancy.
But where do you find that out? Honestly, I don't know where it's written. Maybe I should write something. Could be a little book.
Do a little book now.
Yeah. No, actually that was it. I mean, you just have to learn the verbiage. Different people say different things. I'm like, Leanne, where's the mortgage? She's like, oh, the deed of trust is over here. And then I got my closure confused. She don't know what to ask for. So me and like my business partners say different things. So it's like whoever taught you, we just do what they say, but it's all the same thing. As long as you know what the documents mean, you'll understand what the documents are. But stuff like the 1003, nobody's looking in the corner saying 1003. So y'all,
Mm-mm.
1003 is a loan application.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it says
Mhm.
uniform loan
Mm-hmm.
application. It's all the loan application. Honestly, if y'all have questions, just call us.
We'll
Call
help
us
you.
at 1-800. Say no. Good.
You have to network though. Network,
You have to.
network, network.
Go to all the stuff you don't want
Everything
to.
you can.
Yeah, tell people who you are. You know, somebody told me one
Get a
day,
name tag.
you can't be a secret agent, so you can't be a secret closer.
Mm-mm.
How you gonna get business? Nobody knows what you do.
Because I stalk notaries too.
No.
I'll look and see what are they doing, how they doing. That's how I found a couple of people that closed for us. Was just, you give them a chance. Like Leah said, you kind of want to see how they close. So I always start people off with a refi. You can't mess up too bad. We got 3 days. 3 days to fix it.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll give you a chance if you want to come do a settlement for us. I don't discriminate.
Mm-mm.
If you want to try it, you reach out.
All we need is your license, your notary commission, and where you're willing to travel.